and welcome to episode 39 from a very squeaky chair in a very old building. I'm going to swap chairs. That should be a bit better. Thank you very much for joining me today. If you are a new viewer, you're most welcome here. My name is Gemma and I am the dyer, designer, tutor and purveyor of general nonsense behind the Midnight Diary YouTube channel and Hand Dyed Yarn Company as well. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back once again for another crafty chat and a bit of fun and a giggle, hopefully. It's been lovely to see so many of you active in the comments. We are in a slightly different area again today from the last podcast. I did share with you last time, if you didn't see it, that currently I am living above the Yarn Dispensary, which is the local yarn shop in Faversham in Kent that I run. We are here temporarily while we are waiting to make our big move to Devon, which is rather exciting and a little bit terrifying, and I'm trying not to think about it too much at the moment because I might cry. So anyway, we are in my favourite part of the shop, which is the sock department. When I first took over as manager of this shop 4.5 years ago, I can't believe it's been that long, this was the office and a stockroom. But it was crying out to be a haven, another cavern of yarny goodness, and that is what we've created over the past few years. And here we are. Most of the shop is organised by weight of yarn to make it really simple, but in the interest of simplicity, quite often we found people were coming and going, I want to knit socks, and so we've put together a whole sock department. The department itself has moved around the shop. It depends on like what we need and what customers want, but for now it's settled here and it seems quite happy, and I'm certainly quite happy with it here as well. So here we are. The reason we're back here is, to be honest, there's quite a goldfish bowl element going on to the front of the shop. It is Saturday night. It is Saturday the 21st of July, or 22nd of July. 22nd, I want to say 22nd. And it is a little bit busy in the town. It's lovely. People are coming to get their Chinese takeaway or go to the pub, and it's a nice hubbub, but with big double fronted glass windows, it's just, and the need for the studio light because it's quite dull today because it's raining, great British weather. I felt a bit more comfortable in the back here today, and the people who are staying in the Airbnb behind, so who can see through and see into this room, they have just gone out as well. So Robin is going to bed and I've got a few minutes to spare. So I know it's only been like 2 seconds since the last video I uploaded, but it is almost 2 weeks since the last podcast was uploaded, so I thought it was time to have a crafty catch up. And I have been knitting up a storm since I last spoke to you. I was as I hoped, having moved in and started to get a bit more settled, and with the chaos of selling a house behind us, I'm finding that I am more inspired to reach for my needles. Plus I am living in a yarn shop, you know, I mean, take a drink every time I reference living in a yarn shop. I can't quite get over it. I am so incredibly lucky. We are so incredibly lucky to be here. Anyway, let's have a look at the work in progress board. So I only brought whips with me with the solemn intention not to cast anything else on. So it's going quite well. I've crossed off a few things since I last spoke to you. Started and this is the last spoke to you. I finished another flax for Robin, so that wasn't on the original whip analysis that I did a few months ago, or a couple of months ago even. So that's been started and finished, and I've done 1, 2, 3, 4 hose of socks. And I finished a garment, so I thought I'd show you, like a grown-up garment, not just a kiddie garment, so I thought I'd show you. Now first of all, look at this. You see all these little socks behind me? These are all Robin's socks. And as I said to you last time, look, can we talk about the size difference? They're just, how is he growing that quickly? I finished this, and they don't even fit on this sock block. This sock block is way too big for them. Oh dear. Anyway, so I'm knitting this size now. So I think I've shown you this one before. I think I may have shown you the Blue Lagoon last time. So since then, I have finished the Spring Greens by Winwick Mum. And I've also started and finished since I last spoke to you, the blue tit colourway from West Yorkshire Spinners. So I'm gradually working my way through. So here we have 2 of the cocktail range from West Yorkshire Spinners, Rum Paradise and Blue Lagoon. I think they're winding the cocktail range down, which makes me a little bit sad because I love it, but there we are. One of the Winwick Mum colourways. Now these aren't technically a self-striping, they're more a kind of, they've got a linear repeat. So it's not self-patterning in the same way as some Fair Isle yarns might be, like Serdar Baby Crofter, if you're familiar with that one. And when it knits up, it looks a bit like Fair Isle. And actually, I think some of the Arne and Carlos ones do that as well. But it's not stripes as in, you know, you've got 6 rows of one and 6 rows of another and 6 rows of another. So it's kind of a linear self-patterning, which sounds very posh. And then we've got one of the British Birds colourways. This is Blue Tit. I whipped this up so quickly you wouldn't believe. And he will get the others, but for now, this is useful for in the shop. So 1 and 2. And of course, it wouldn't be me. I need to figure out a way of displaying them, to be honest. Whoops-a-daisy. Let's just put them there for now. It wouldn't be me if I didn't immediately cast on another sock. And true Gemma style, I'm part way through a round. So I'll just finish, she says. I'll just untangle my yarn and finish this, and then I can show you. So I still need to look into if odd sock pairs count for the summer sock camp. I know Kay, the Crazy Sock Lady, isn't doing it terribly formally this year, but I still want to do it right, if that makes sense. I mean, if I was just doing pairs of odd socks, then I guess, you know, they're counting and I'm doing quite well. I've also got the little ones from the My First Regia collection. I've only worked up 3 of those so far. Right, here we go. And here's the next one. And this is the Pheasant colourway. Isn't it just beautiful? I absolutely love it. It's so, so lovely. It's such rich colours. And I love the way in the British Birds range you get these flecky bits in between. It really does just scream British Birds. So I've done a full repeat now. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 solid colours, and obviously the bands of flex separating them. So I've done a 15 round cuff. Now actually these are a little bit bigger. I've been doing Robin's socks at 48 stitches cast on, but his feet are growing so quickly that I think, and he's growing so quickly, he's going through a snacky phase. Like, he woke up and the first thing he said was eat, with the sign that we do baby signing with him, and he does eat. And then he had a massive breakfast. He had toast and he had a banana and he had a fruit pouch thing, I think, and then he had went to the market with Daddy because there's a beautiful market in Faversham, and there's locally grown produce, and the lady called Katrina runs the fruit and veg stand, and she always has, oh, you can smell the strawberries when I wake up in the morning and she's setting up, or if I'm sort of sat and doing some work at the desk with my coffee, the smell of strawberries waft in through the open window and mingle with the coffee, and the whole thing is just, anyway. So he went to buy a punnet of strawberries, and yes, he had some of those, then he had a nap, and then he woke up and went eat. So Alan brought him downstairs and we gave him some cake, which was very nice. Then he had lunch, and yeah, so he's going through a snacky phase. So I think he's definitely going through a growth spurt. So this time I've actually cast on 52 stitches, and so yeah, 15 rounds for the cuff, and I'm going to do 30 rounds for the leg. And I've done so far, do you mind me counting? I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 21. So I've got 9 rounds left to do with the leg, and then it's the heel flap and gusset. I'm doing this on the go. I'm doing it on dog walks and in the shop while I'm talking to customers or organising the staff. I'm using an Emma Ball sheep in sweaters wrist bag. They're great. They just hang on your wrist. They've got a little pocket in the front, and what have I got in there at the moment? I have got fob for the gate, some change, and some poo bags. And my phone often sits in there as well. So, oh, No, no, 2 Winwick Mum ones, because that's Wildflowers, that's Winwick Mum, but I hadn't finished that recently. So that's that. And I love this. What I actually think I fancy doing is doing that like sleeves for him on a sweater. I think that looks super cute, the self-striping sleeves. Do you want to hold that? There you go. My little friend here is wearing a sample for us. Okay, so actual finished objects, I have 2. Now this first one I debated whether or not to show you because the ends aren't woven in, it hasn't been blocked, so it looks quite short, and technically, if you're being really super technical about it, it might not actually be finished. And that's because I need to graft the I-cord bind off together, and I'm a little bit scared of it, if I'm honest. So at the moment, where the I-cords are finished, they're just held together with a stitch marker so I don't lose the stitches. But anyway, this is the Soho top by Cadre. It looks very cropped, but it isn't. Being garter stitch, it stretches out an absolute mile, and I haven't blocked it yet. So when it's blocked, it's going to be significantly longer. It's got I-cord detail around the armholes. So I've finished this since I last spoke to you. I did the I-cord bind off at the bottom, which was super easy because you're just binding off stitches that are already there, basically. With the armholes, I found the rate of recommended pick up a little bit. I wasn't sure about it. It looks a little bit frilly, but then when it's blocked, it will actually stretch with it. So I think I've just trusted the process for now. It makes such a difference to the neckline as well, though. I think I've got a really dodgy bathroom selfie and then a picture that one of my team took of me after I'd done the neckline, just to show you the difference it makes. So there's that. And yeah, I'm really chuffed with it. So here it is, before being completely finished and before being blocked. And next time, if it's all right with you, I'd love to show you the completely finished item. So I have finished the Soho, so that's a completed garment. To be honest, I was beginning to despair of ever getting that off of the needles, for the simple reason that it got to that stage where, have you ever had where you're knitting a project or crocheting a project and you measure it and then you do a few more rounds or a few more hours or whatever, and then suddenly it seems like it's getting shorter, not longer. I mean, I know physically it can't possibly be getting shorter, not longer, but you know what I mean, it just seems to stop growing. So that's that, and that is in Rowan Creative Linen. I used 2 and a bit skeins. So you're looking at 30 quid for a top, which isn't too bad, and it was quite nice to work with. You could do it with any DK or worsted weight, I guess. I think the sample that Sabina uses for, she's the designer behind Cadre, I think she uses a merino. And we're also doing it in a cashmere cotton, which is just beautiful. So yeah, I'm quite chuffed with that. So that will be sewn up, finished off, and on display in the shop very, very soon. I mean, look at that squish, squish. The next finished object is, surprise, surprise, a flax sweater for my son, Robin. Now, weirdly, this one seems smaller than the last one I finished. I don't know if it's just because it's a different colour. I knit most of this, it was just the sleeves I had to do when I spoke to you last, and I did them while watching Wimbledon. Wimbledon is the reason I've got these things finished. So yeah, I knit the sleeves one sleeve during one match and one sleeve during the other. I must admit, I did shed a tear when Jokovic lost. Not because he lost, but just that moment where he looked up at the box, at the player's box, at his sons, and it was just, and you could see the raw emotion and love in his eyes, and it just got me in the feels. It got me in the feels. Yeah, so I've used Rowan Superwash Worsted again. I use it every time I teach my top down sweater class. There's going to be one more of these in Robin's future, immediate future, because I'm teaching it again in 2 weeks' time. Yeah, it's just lovely. It's a lovely go-to sweat, which seems to have 2 different length sleeves. Hang on. I counted the rows. How can this happen? No, there we go. We're okay. I love it. It's a nice basic workhorse sweater. I do the 2 to 4 size now, but I do add on at least an inch in length because my son appears to be long in the torso. I can't imagine this lasting until he's 4. Sleeves are all right, but yeah, I love it, and it washes up beautifully. Bob's your uncle. Not really a lot more to say about it, especially if you're a returning viewer. You're going to be so bored of seeing flax sweaters. So no more flax sweaters at the moment, but fear not, because I have a new cast on. I said I wasn't going to cast anything on, but this is work, so it's okay. It totally doesn't count. I have cast on, and it looks very peculiar at the moment, I've cast on another little cardigan for Robin. He hasn't had a cardigan in a while. I think the last cardigan I made him was the play date. No, it wasn't. It was the Chime Baby cardigan from the Rowan Bloom book by Martin Story. I believe it was the Martin Story one I did. It's irrelevant. Doesn't fit him anymore. Only works up to a year. So I haven't had a cardigan since. So now at the moment I have a garter stitch strip. Does anyone know what this might be? Any guesses? Any guesses down below? If you guessed a Harvest cardigan by Tin Can Knits, well done. You can feel very proud. You are right. I've made a mistake. You're only supposed to have the stocking stitch band down one side, and I've merrily done it down 2, but there we are. So this is work, and it's trying out a new yarn, new to us yarns. There's something on my glasses and it's driving me mad, so I'm going to take them off and now sort of go cross-eyed at you. Yeah, so it's the it's a new yarn and I love it. I'm going to try and get some B-roll in the daylight tomorrow if I can, on Sunday, to show you, because it's green, but it's not just green. It's got yellow woven through it. It's got little flecks of pink and green and blue. It's really lovely, and it is a brand new to us yarn that we are going to be stocking at the yarn. Say we, I've got to stop saying we, it's not going to be me. They are going to be stocking in the yarn shop in the autumn. I've chosen it. It fills a much needed gap, or it provides a much needed filling to a gap. And it is Kinghole Forest recycled aran. So it is 35% wool, 20% acrylic, 20% polyamide and 25% viscose. Approximately 300 meters per 100 gram ball, and it is an aran. It's made in Turkey, so it's not made in Britain, but it is fully recycled. So all the plastic in there is recycled, all the man-made fibre, everything in there is recycled, which I love. And it is quite soft. It's surprisingly soft. It's nice to work with. So I wanted to stock this, but I thought I really need to give it a road test before we do. So I went on to and I bought this colourway is called Grisdale Forest. I love that they've started to name their colourways as well. It's such fun. And it did look much darker green on the screen. That's the problem with buying online, really. And what's come back is this almost sage. It's slightly more yellow. It's lovely. I absolutely love it, and I'm looking at it now and I'm seeing flecks of orange and brown and all sorts of things going on in here, and that's the recycled nature of it. So yeah, I thought to myself I'd better buy enough to do a man's sweater, and so I bought 6 balls of this, and including shipping it cost under 20 quid. When was the last time you bought yarn for a sweater and it was under 20 quid? Like, well, I mean, when you were not using, say, you know, the 400 gram balls of aran weight that are 3 for a tenner or something quite often in big box stores. So yeah, I just couldn't believe it. As it happens, it's a little bit too pale for hubby to want a sweater in it. So what I'm doing instead, I looked at the measurements and it turns out I've got enough for a Harvest cardigan for me and for Robin. So in the interest of having a workable sample in the shop, I have cast on one for Robin. I cast on yesterday with my lovely friend and colleague Kate, who's just joined us, and she's actually chosen the Harvest cardigan for her shop sample, because something I introduced is that provided you actually complete your project, so I don't get to do this. No surprises there. We give you a bit of an allowance twice a year, and you choose the pattern that you want, the yarn you want in your size, and provided you get it knit up within a couple of months and you are happy to leave it here on a hanger when you're not working, you can wear it in the store when you are working, put it in the window if we want it in the window, then eventually becomes entirely yours. But it just seemed to make sense, because if we want people to be wearing our yarns while they're working, we need to make it really accessible to them to do so. So she chose the harvest cardigan as well. So if you're not familiar with the harvest cardigan, I'll get the pattern and show you, but I'll see if I can put some pictures up as well. You cast on the collar with provisional cast on, and then you pick up the stitches along the band and you start working. So you knit most of it, so enough to go around the neck, if that makes sense, and over the shoulders. So you knit enough collar to create your yoke if this was a sweater. Probably not explaining it very well, but you'll see as the weeks go by. So yeah, I'm part way through mine. Kate brought hers in today and she is much further than I was. I only had sort of that much done. And I said to her, where's your other stocking stitch side? Where is it? And she said, what do you mean? I said, well, you're meant to have stocking stitch on both sides, aren't you? She said, no, only one side. And I checked the pattern and I was like, no, just yeah. And it was so funny because she was right, I was wrong. I had not read the pattern correctly. But I've decided to continue anyway and have like a finished edge to my cardigan rather than the raw garter stitch edge, because it has, you pick up the stitches here and this becomes kind of your raw edge. It's a lovely look, but I thought I'd try it and do something different. So my first impressions of this yarn, I was really pleased with the colour, couldn't believe the price point. And actually, as I start working with it, it has a really pleasant handle. It doesn't feel scratchy or squeaky or rough. It's quite smooth, it's got a bit of bounce to it. I really like it. And I handed it to Kate, and actually once she started working with it, she was pleasantly surprised too. And so was Vanessa, my boss, who owns the shop. And so yeah, good call. We're going to get all the shades of this in and I'm very excited. So there will be a grown-up version for me on the horizon too, but for now I'm doing the 4 to 6 years for Robin, because it will be a shop sample here and then he can wear it at home. He'll probably end up wearing it a bit like a dressing gown, I guess, but there we are. So it's my new cast on. So the other thing I pulled out and I've put a few inches on is technically work, but I found things really difficult lately. We've got some family things going on that have been a little bit stressful. Work, organising the transition, trying to get my head around the amount of work that needs to be done before I go. I've also been quite poorly. I had a really bad stomach bug 2 weeks ago and it was followed by a throat issue. My tonsils swelled up so much that they felt like they were touching. It was really horrible. Yeah, and the fatigue that goes with that. And then Alan's been ill immediately after that as well. I don't have to be so careful. Sorry if my hair's driving mad. I don't have to be so careful about saying Mr. Midnight anymore because he is out of education. He's free and he's got accepted onto his masters. It's all very exciting. So anyway, this is just a sample swatch really. It's just garter stitch of Rowan Tweed colour, which is an ombre colour changing yarn. And the colour change is so gentle but so broad, I'm basically going to have to knit an entire ball of yarn. But it's just garter stitch, so it's quite nice. I've gone pretty much from the gingerbread man up to here. Just doing a few rows here and there, back and forth. It's really pretty, isn't it? Oh no, I haven't, sorry, that's where I thought I was going to put armholes, because initially when I started this, it was way back in the summer last year, I think. I don't know. Either way, or it was the spring, and I thought I'd turn it into a simple pattern for Robin to wear, but you know what I'm like. But it's turning into this really beautiful vibrant blue at the top. I really like it. They're quite expensive, the balls of yarn, but I mean, it's so difficult to get colour change anyway, and especially in natural fibres, so you know, can go with it. And I'm quite enjoying just the simple, soothing repetitiveness of garter stitch. And this is true garter stitch, unlike the Pearl Soho where you start off with garter stitch and then when you go into the round, you're knitting one round, purling one round to create the garter stitch look, but knit in the round. I'm looking around here and I'm just so inspired There's a fantastic button wall that we've created behind, and I just love it. And it just feels like every week this place evolves and grows and changes somehow, and I really, really love it. There's just little touches that everyone's put in as well, which I adore. And yeah, it's a special place, this. Sorry, I'm digressing. I think that's it. I think that's all I've got to show you tonight. I haven't got any acquisitions, I don't think. No, I did buy a skein from the little grey girl a few weeks ago, but that was weeks ago. And that was to do a hat for my grandma-in-law. There's plans afoot for working through more of my whips. It looks like we might be moving a little bit sooner than expected. There was a possibility of us being here till the end of September, beginning of October, but it looks like things are going really smoothly. So we're just gonna, you know, see what happens. And of course, I'll fill you in with a moving vlog later on. I've now done another row. Sorry, I hope that's okay and the needles aren't making too much noise. Anyway, let me put that down and I'll show you my next project that I'm planning to work on. Now I've got two problems here. One, I don't have the printed copy of the pattern anymore. I need to print off another one. And this is actually living in my Midnight Diary denim drawstring bag, which I love. This is when I outsourced some of my project bag making, and I'm so pleased with the result. I'm going to have to try and get some more made. Just lined. They've got my Midnight Diary patch on. And I've actually started sewing patches onto the bag as well. I'm going to bring those back. I really like them. And this is missing the needles. So I'm praying that I did it on the right size needles that the designer recommended. This was a test knit that I very, very nearly finished by Jackie Badger. It's the Moira Rose shawl. And I've done all of the main body of it, and I've almost finished the border as well. I'm trying to show, but it's really hard because I don't have the end stoppers, and I've just left it in the bag like that. How devil may care can you get? Whoop! Whoa! I must have been having a rebellious moment. But you see this beautiful spine down the back, and now I'm fading in, or I faded in, the darker grey. So this is lead, and I believe this is oxide in my hand-dyed yarns. I'm so close to having it finished. I thought that would be the one I pulled out next to work on. And when I pulled it out the other night, I thought, oh, this is great. I'll find out where I am and I'll get going. And then I saw that and I was like, ah, okay, maybe I won't. So I haven't started it yet. I think what I'm probably going to do is find the pattern this evening. Lister is upstairs waiting for me to join him because we're going to get Chinese takeaway tonight. There's a fantastic Chinese 2 doors down, and it's very sweet. They've got a little baby girl who's 9 months old, and he takes her for little walks. I say he takes her for walks, obviously she's not walking, but he holds her like facing outwards, carrying her very reverently in his arms up and down the market. And they've taken to coming in to saying hello, and they saw Robin the other day, and Robin was like, baby, which is really cute because it's like, you're still a baby, aren't you? Oh, he's dropped his bedtime bottle of milk. That was emotional. I was like, oh, so you're fully weaned and you're not even having a bedtime bottle anymore. It's going so quickly. So that is my next planned whip to work on. Obviously, I've got to work on the harvest cardigan now. We're thinking about doing it as a make along for the yarn dispensary, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I've cracked a few whips. How about you? I still haven't been on the computer on Instagram to do a calorie, so I might do that this time. Depends how long I've talked for. But I'd love to see what you're all up to. So the hashtag I will find from the previous video and I'll put it below. And do tell me how you're getting on with your socks. If you're thinking ahead to winter and making all the sweaters, what plans you've got for the summer. Oh, I love hearing from you, so please do comment in the comments below. That makes sense. Right, I've had fun chatting to you. I hope you've had fun watching, and have a wonderful rest of weekend or week, because I probably won't get this edited until Sunday night, and I will speak to you soonish. How about that? Take care. Bye.